Hey, how's it going on how's it going everybody? I'm Harley Van Heining, aka Gnarly Harley. So here doing a live Instagram through Love Florida, and going to be sharing my art form of Gyutaku. So I'm an artist here in Destin, Florida, born and raised here in Northwest Florida. It's on the Gulf Coast, also known as the Emerald Coast. So one of my favorite parts of Florida is probably this area, just because of the water is crystal clear. We have white sand beaches, and the fishing is great. And that's the thing about my art, the art form that I do, is it revolves around fishing quite a bit, and all the marine life and creatures of the sea. So the art form of Gyutaku, pronounced Gyotaku, actually translates to Japanese as fish rub or fish prints. So the Japanese began the art form in the early 1800s as a way to record their catches using different blends of rice paper and ink, black ink, like sumi ink. So my approach to Gyutaku is very non-traditional. I use different weights of canvas and linens, things like that, and also color. So when I actually go and paint the fish, which is like this octopus, this triggerfish here, those are actually real fish that I've applied paint to and did a print which gathers all the scale detail, the fins, and the size of the fish. So I'm very non-traditional in that approach, adding color, and then also using a medium as acrylics is what I use instead of black ink. But today what I'm going to be doing is doing a demonstration with an octopus, one of the most I'd say brilliant creatures of the sea, and a favorite for, I'd say, I don't think there's anyone that doesn't like an octopus. They're very fascinating, and if you've ever watched Blue Planet 2, there's an episode in Green Seas where the octopus grabs all the shells as a dogfish comes in to locate it, and it just throws all the shells up in the air and pulls a full-on Houdini trick on it. So pretty amazing creatures, and they're very, very intelligent. So today what I'm going to do is paint this octopus in a different color form, so it's not going to be to its natural characteristics. This is a gray triggerfish, actually a very large triggerfish. That was around 15 pounds. That was shot spearfishing by some guys here in Northwest Florida that work for the FWC, the Florida Wildlife Commission, and they're biologists. So I actually get specimens from them after they do their research. So a lot of creatures that I have that I've saved or marine life that has been to good use, and it's not something that's just being, you know, I'm all about if you kill something or take something from the sea, you're eating that and respecting and honoring the life form. So I'm going to be applying paint and painting this octopus to its unnatural characteristics, very similar to the triggerfish, and it's a bit representative of the area I live in the waters here on the Emerald Coast. So if you are logging in and just getting live with us, also too, we are going through the whole COVID, so artists like myself and musicians, not all the times is art it's a luxury, kind of a luxury thing, so you know, we're doing our best to survive and get through, and definitely sending lots of good vibes and prayers to anyone that's, you know, going through hardships. It's definitely understand those times, and you know, just keeping the vibe alive, keep pushing through, and we'll all be all right. But I've also got a donation here at Venmo. That's my Venmo account at Gnarly, or it's at Harley-Van Heining. So let's start painting. So the first thing with the octopus, anytime you're painting a creature, there's different approaches depending on the kind of fish I'm painting. If it's got scales, if it's got skin, if it's an octopus, I'm going to apply paint to it differently. The consistency is going to be different. A lot of times when I'm painting or do the art form of Gyutaku, I also do other artwork like this here, which is a bit expressionist, abstract. So there's other things that I do apart from Gyutaku, and this is some of the other work. This is a short big eye snapper, rock hind, cobia, king mackerel, and then we've also got a couple fish over here, a blue marlin that's around 450 pounds, and then Actually, all of these fish here are caught out of Destin, Florida, along with the cobia, the king mackerel, shore big eye, rockine, and the trigger. So with the octopi, usually when I paint this fish or this creature specimen, usually I start from the body and go from the tentacles down. So this is a bit of a demonstration. Usually I paint live down at the docks. So when boats come in from fishing, I get commissioned to do paint fish. Someone that's caught maybe the best tuna, their personal best, or even someone's maybe shot their personal best cobia spear fishing. People will give me a call to come down and paint their fish and record that catch. But after I get done painting the fish, the great thing about this art form is I use non-toxic medium. So you spray off the fish, clean it, and then you still get to eat the fish afterwards. So nothing goes to waste. And then afterwards, that's where I go back, bring the life form back to life, and it's honored, it's a memory, and it lives on forever. So we're gonna get to painting. So first off, I'm gonna be using a deep turquoise acrylic, and I'll be painting the body here down through the tentacles, and also to gather different dimension on that, you can add more paint where it's a little more thick or heavy to show depth, and also we're even going with lighter colors in paint. So let's get started. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me any questions. Comment away. My buddy Brian's on the opposite side of the phone there, so he'll be keeping it interactive, and I'll be able to chat and interact as I'm painting. So. And hopefully my speaking here is not too bad. Usually being on the camera or being live can be gets people a little out of their comfort zones. And if there's anybody from back home that's watching, let me know who's watching from here in town in Destin. Say hello, let me know who's out there. So one of the challenges that I go through while painting on the docks, because a lot of other Gitaku artists paint in more controlled environments, so they're indoors, in their studio. So this is typically not how I get to paint. Normally I'm out in the docks, the sun's blazing, the wind's blowing, maybe there's rain coming in, I've got the deckhands cleaning the fish, and I've got to hustle. Some other artists, some of the prints that they post or do, they've maybe done 5 or 6 runs. So a lot of my work is done off either the first, maybe a second print if I've got time. So when I do get time and it's in a controlled environment, it's rather nice and less pressure, which is always great when you're being creative and trying to do something precise and perfect. Any questions, Brian?
Is there a certain place to start on the fish or an animal?
Is there a certain place?
To start?
I would say it varies with the kind of the specimen fish. Say if I've got a big tuna, like a big fish, say like something that's 200 pounds or plus, I'm usually doing the body and then going to the fins. Because the fins are going to dry quicker, but also too, that's my approach dealing with the elements. So I have to go to where the paint's also going to be stay moist or not dry so fast, and to do what is going to dry fast last. So it's a little bit different for me than I guess other artists and how the environment they're able to paint in. But like with the octopus, I'm doing the body, then go into the tentacles. So that's how I'm doing that first, just because the tentacles are a lot more, have to go a lot more slower with that, so it takes a little more time.
What type of paint is the best?
The best paint, acrylic, that would be the best thing, just because, I mean, if you plan on eating something afterwards, you want to pay attention to what kind of paints you're getting and brands. There are some acrylics that have, I mean, it's kind of a plastic. There can be harmful chemicals in those, especially anything with metallics. So stay away from metallics. I would, if you plan on detailing or doing work afterwards, which is what I like to do, that's something you want to do afterwards, not to the initial fish.
How many of these do you create in a week?
Right now, I was going to say, I haven't got to paint much or print much at all lately, just because there's been no fishing trips here in Destin. So thank you to Love Florida for having me on to promote me as an artist and other artists and musicians, just because there hasn't been any business lately. Thankfully, I've had some other commissions through the pipeline ahead of this that I've still got. But yesterday I did get to commission an amberjack, and then I've got a guy that shot his personal best cobia over in Mobile. He's bringing a fish over to me Tuesday, or no, tomorrow afternoon actually. So that's the thing. I will travel. If you've got like a big fishing trip planned and you're going to the Bahamas or even going to Hawaii, and you want to have me come out, I'll hang out. I'll come paint your fish, and yeah, I'm down to travel. Or you can come here, you can bring it to the studio. The one thing I say is don't gut the fish, keep it on ice, and the best way to get a hold of me is either by texting, you can email me, let me know ahead of time if you got a fishing trip planned, and we can coordinate that way. But I work pretty much 7 days a week, 24/7, I'm always on call. So I spend the majority of my life here in this lovely cubicle that I'm very grateful to be able to do this and have a life as an artist. It's definitely a blessing.
What's the most challenging fish to paint?
Most challenging fish to paint would be tunas over the 60-pound range and big cobias. Tunas are more shaped sort of like a football, so it gets very awkward and oblong. Depending on the medium you're using, if you've got something that's very thin, like a linen, or even like rice paper, it's going to mold to that a lot easier. I do get asked a lot about what kind of canvas I'm using. It's kind of my approach, and it works best in my style, because I like the detail work afterwards, which isn't traditional to the art form. So I kind of not really give away my secrets or what I like to do. It's not really a secret, it's my style, how I like to paint, and what works for me. And what I would say is, when it comes to doing that, if you're someone that's interested in experimenting, just try all different things and see what works for you and what you like, and how that works out. But big tunas, cobias will make me break a little sweat, because the canvas I use, it doesn't exactly mold or bend as well around the head region or that body, so I have to start off in a different part of the fish to get that to happen, and that's taken some trial and error. So doing this art form is not something that like you get good at overnight. It requires some patience, doing it over and over. I basically got started by painting my own fish that I caught. I went to art school all growing up. My mother's an artist, and happening to know about the art form from art history in school. And my first fish I painted was a pompano that I caught. And next thing you know, got obsessed, asked all my buddies, hey man, let me paint your fish. And I just wanted to paint everything. I'd never thought about selling work. And then here we are, over 6 years later from when the obsession started. A dream come true I never knew, basically. So it's awesome. You know, you just never know what happened in life. And I'm just very thankful for the whole art world and to be doing this. So it's been a great journey. It's been awesome. And speaking of paint drying, I better get some more paint on this octopus so it comes out nice. And by the way, when I'm finished with this and you're interested in commissioning this print will be available. So you can either do the raw form, and you can look on my Instagram, which is at Gnarly Harley. That's GNARLY Harley, and you can send me a direct message. There's lots of work I've posted on there that's finished. So you can see octopus have detailed, and also there's I think 1 or 2 on there that are like a raw print, which is just straight off, very minor touches. And I also stretch and frame my own work. So if you got certain schemes in your home, you can send me photos of your house or pick out frames, stuff like that. I do everything. My hands stay on the artwork from start to finish. And my favorite fish to paint? That's a question I get regularly. Mahi. I love mahi. They're super cool. Actually, the short big eye snapper, that's a favorite. And that fish is really interesting just because of how small it is, but it's just a fascinating creature. And they're normally kind of the colors of the red snapper over here, which is kind of oranges and reds. But the lifespan of the short big eye snapper can be upwards of from 30 to 40 years old. So this fish right here is probably estimated around a 30-year-old fish, which sometimes I get bummed out painting fish because they belong in the sea. You know, I'd rather see them swimming. But I mean, it didn't. You know, that fish ended up going on the dinner plate for somebody. So. How are we doing for time? So growing up here in Northwest Florida, I was born and raised here. So most of my life has revolved around the ocean. I picked up surfing when I was 12, 13 years old. Started fishing at an early age. So I've always been obsessed and fascinated by the ocean, and it's my sanctuary. It's where I love to be. And that's the one very special thing about this art form is that it keeps me connected with something I'm very passionate about. So I'm almost done.
Can you talk about the Emerald Lagasse?
Is that a question?
The shirts.
Oh, what about, is that someone that's asking that question? Emerald Lagasse shirts?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I have collaborated with Emerald Lagasse about a couple years ago. He lives here out of Northwest Florida. A friend of mine's the first mate on his boat, and I happened to be going to paint a tuna because I needed a tuna for commission, and Emerald came in, And I was just kind of like, oh man, you know, that's cool. Like I just want to paint a tuna, and wasn't really didn't want to bother anybody. You know, Emerald's awesome, watching him, and I mean love him as a chef, and just his whole deal. He's a rad dude. But anyway, we got connected. I was painting some fish, and I was like, hey man, let's let's talk some more after this. I'd like to do something with you. I was like, all right, awesome. So anyway, I've got a big yellowfin tuna I'd painted, and yeah, we've collaborated. So they've got the rights to that tuna to create merchandise or shirts. Not sure exactly where that is, or like if they've actually got those in the restaurants, or how they're utilizing those shirts. But yeah, it was a great opportunity. His foundation, Emerald Lagasse Foundation, has invited me down twice for the Sailfish Tournament that benefits the Art Broward Foundation and also the Dan Marino Foundation. And the Sailfish Charity Tournament is for to raise funds for students or kids that come from difficulties or hardship backgrounds that are pursuing to have a career or life in the culinary arts. So it's a great cause. He gives back to where he comes from. Obviously, very passionate about what he does, and yeah, it's been an amazing experience that I've gotten through him, and beyond grateful for it. So it's wild. Like I said, it's been a dream come true. I've never known would ever happen. Just got obsessed painting fish, and it's been a while. It's been a rad ride. That's all I gotta say. It's been cool. And Emerald, if you're watching, man, thank you so much. So I'm gonna add a little extra to this. I guess as like Emerald would say if he was cooking, you know, we've got the whole recipe, but now we're about to put on the bam. Anyway, this is a little bit of light color just to give a little definition through the tentacles. And any other questions there, Brian? No? So yes, I'm painting the eye. A lot of Gitaka artists, how's it say? It's art. Everybody's got their own approach and way of doing things, but I like to add in the eye as well.
Do you put all the colors on first, or do you later on the canvas?
So in the initial process, I put all the colors on first. Sometimes I will, if I'm in a hurry, just depending on the situation. Like if I've got the sun beating down, the wind's blowing, and paint's drying, or I've got like a big, say like a big bluefin tuna or something like that, where I don't have a lot of time, I'll do a full initial black and then go back in and add color. But for example, like the octopus here, that's where I did a print and I've gone back into detail and bring back different details, characteristics, and liven it up. And by the way, this is available. So if you're interested in this, you can send me a direct message on Instagram. That's at Gnarly Harley, Gnarly Harley. This triggerfish is also available. And I've got several other prints that are in the inventory. All right, here we go, Brian. And here we go. So when it comes to printing, depending on what you're painting or what you're printing, you'll start in different places, and that may work different for different people, just through trial and error. I particularly like to start through the body, then work my way out through the fins. And with the octopus, it's not really too big of a deal. Just being thorough and going back through all the tentacles to capture and gather all the little suction cups. And if you're watching, I know it's Sunday. Some people might be spending time with their families. Thank you so much for watching. And thank you very much again to Love Florida and Visit Florida for this opportunity to be able to share what I love to do. And very lucky to live here in Florida. Through the lockdown, I've been able to spend some time painting. Recently our beaches have opened up here, but which is very nice, just because living in Florida, and that's one of the beautiful things about living here is just how amazing our beaches are, especially this part of Florida. But there's a lot of other beautiful places to Florida as well. So we're almost done. Just going back through, making sure I get all the tentacle details. All right, and here we go, Brian. I'm going to start from, that's the other thing too, when you take the canvas off, it's better usually from fish, you go from the top down. A lot of times also too, I'll go from the head and peel back, but it's different if you're using rice paper versus the canvas, just because the canvas sometimes can get stuck and really mold to something, especially the octopus gets a little sticky. So I'm going to have to peel this back a little bit. Actually, I'm going to pull this table back so you can get it from this side right here. And then there we go. That's an octopus there. A little bit symbolic of the waters here on the Emerald Coast of Florida. So if you're interested in this one, you can send me a direct message. This is a raw print, so you can have it just as is, just like this, or I can go back and detail it to be like one of the octopus that's here on this one here on the wall. But yeah, I'll show you a couple of more things. We'll set this here. Here's some recent work that I've finished. This is a red snapper that was cut off the Lady M here in Destin, Florida. So I've got to stretch and frame this one. And if you're just now watching or getting on, I do stretch and frame my own work. So I'll be doing that to myself, which was pretty grueling. This is a gag grouper cut off the Big John, which is a charter boat here in Destin, Florida. So I'll be stretching and framing this one. That's been commissioned. And they're catching amberjacks right now. Actually painted an amberjack off of the First Light with Captain Steve and Wyatt Ferreira. And this is a raw print of a amberjack. So I did the color, and there's been no additional touches. And this is going to Missouri, so it's already been commissioned. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed everything. If you'd like to make any donations to support the cause for art supplies, etc., that's my Venmo there. You can make a donation, and also check me out on Instagram at Gnarly Harley, GNARLY HARLEY. Have a great Sunday. Thank you very much.